Hello and good day, Welcome to the Super Good Camping Podcast. My name is Pamela.
I'm Tim.
And we are from supergoodcamping.com. We're here because we're on a mission to inspire other people to get outside and enjoy camping adventures such as we have as a family. Today's guest is back for her third round. She's one of our pals, Josie Dinsmore from Josie Dinsmore Photography and Adventures with Josie. Yay!
Hello, everyone. It's good to be
Thanks
here.
for coming by.
Yeah.
So what have you been up to lately? Just in a catching up. That's when it's pals. I like to sort of hear what they've been doing lately.
Yeah, just kind of coming off of summer now. I did quite a few different little things, particularly towards the end of really August and then the beginning of September. I got out on a couple different camping trips. We're doing biking. We've been doing some hiking. Yeah, lots of photography, all sorts of just little odds and ends this year. So,
Cool. Well, and I just the recent. By the time this airs, it'll be like a week or so to a week and a half ago that you got some really cool pictures of the Northern Lights, the Aurora Borealis.
yes, yeah. So I always keep an eye on when they're happening, and we actually can see them out our living room window, basically, where I live. We're pretty lucky that way. But when I heard they were going to be really, really good, I thought, yeah, we got to go somewhere even better. So we went to a local provincial park. We went to Samuel de Champlain Provincial Park. Anyone who follows me will know that I go there quite a lot. So
It's
we
your
went down
favorite.
to the yeah, so we went down to the beach area, and it was the best Northern Lights I had ever seen. It was quite something, and I had my GoPro going, I had my phone, I had my camera, everything was just constantly going. Yeah, and just it was so cool because like they were just all over the sky. Like you couldn't normally they're strong enough you look in one direction and you're like, oh, okay, cool, but these ones, it was all over. It was just pick a direction and shoot, and hopefully you get some kind of good photo. But
Well, and I've
yeah,
seen
yeah,
the pictures from that. They were really epic shots that you
yeah.
got. Do you have any tips for people for shooting that kind of photography?
Yeah, it's actually not as complicated as people think. If you've got like a cell phone, the phone will kind of like correct that stuff for you if it's got more automatic settings. Um, if you have like if you want to go into like the manual settings, or if you have like a camera or DSLR, you basically just want to do a slower shutter speed. So you want it to be able to capture like a longer, have it open longer, the lens. And depending how bright the lights are, you might not want it as long. So if they were really bright that night, so I think I was usually shooting about 10 seconds. And then your ISO, you wanna brighten that up a little bit to add a little more light depending. And also you probably wanna do a manual focus instead of an auto, because the camera's not gonna wanna focus when it doesn't really have something to focus on. And just make sure you use the tripod, and that's pretty much it. And just experiment, and if a picture turns out good, then you're going the right direction, and keep going from there. So yeah, it's actually not that difficult. So yeah, but you have to
Cool.
get out somewhere where you can see them, though. That's the most difficult part usually.
Yeah, Toronto makes it a little bit difficult to do that, but
Yeah,
apparently
yeah.
some people did manage to see
Mhm.
some colors here. I don't know that I saw much in the way of photos that worked out well. Not here in the city, but
Yeah.
very close, like just just north of the city and stuff like that. But I saw
Mhm.
lots of people putting out some pretty cool greens and purples and wild photos. It was that was a pretty
Yeah,
amazing event.
all social media was just colorful,
It's,
like
it's,
northern lights for
it's,
days after.
all the feeds, everybody's feed was just
Yeah.
full of them. Yeah.
And we're just sitting here envious in Toronto.
Yes, we were.
Uh,
Yes, we
well,
were.
sometime.
Oh well, such is life. I got to see it because you guys all took pictures of it, so it was good.
Yeah,
It was
yeah. Well,
fun.
that's the cool thing, you know. Sometimes you miss out. The sky's cloudy, but somebody's gonna have a picture of it. So, yeah,
Yep, cool. So I know you got in a couple of bits of biking. I think you oh what but you ran into I think you ran into bike issue when you were doing the charity rides, like trying to rack up the how is the you do X amount of kilometers and then you raise so much money, but I think you ran into some kind of mechanical issue.
Yeah, so I participate in the Great Cycle Challenge Canada every year. It's usually in the month of August, and basically people pick a goal for amount of kilometers they want to ride in the month, and then they pick a
Hmm.
goal of how much they want to raise. And what ended up happening this year was I had my goal, which was pretty reasonable. I think it was on like 400 or 500 kilometers, but I ended up having an issue with my bike earlier in the month, and then an issue towards the end, and I just didn't have the chance to get out. And then between that, there we had a lot of like rainy weather too when I did have my bike. So I didn't get the kilometers or the amount of donations I was hoping to this year, but I got well over 350 or something dollars. So, every dollar helps. So, yeah.
Yep, yep. I'd still call that a win.
And that charity is for the sick kids, for kids' cancer research. That's specifically what it's for. So it's a very good cause. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I knew it was kids cancer. I wasn't sure it was. I wasn't. Didn't re. I don't think I remembered that it was sick kids. But yep,
Yeah.
that's a poopy thing for kids. And anything negative for kids is a health issue. Is poopy.
Is there a particular reason why you chose that charity?
Um, Not really. This was my fifth year, and what happened was when I first heard about it, it just kind of randomly popped up on Facebook one day. And what I liked about it was, of course, raising funds for kids' cancer research is a great thing. But I also liked how the event was organized, where you didn't have to go to a particular place; you could do it at home. And you could also pick what you were capable of doing. So some people, their goal is like, 5,000 kilometers in a month, and like other people, they do 100. And so you kind of adjust it to what you're able to do, and you just go out on your own time in the month and do it. So it's really easy for anyone to participate and to help fundraise. So that's why I did it, and that's why I keep doing it, because I'm out on my bike anyways. I might as well make the kilometers in that month count towards something.
Count.
So,
Yep,
yeah, yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, you
That's
do a lot of cycling.
yeah. Yeah, I guess the last several years, my mom and I, we started to get into longer distance bike rides, and it's just gone more and more since then. We're doing longer day trips, and then we started getting into some camping trips, some multi-day trips. Yeah, so it's just kind of we always rode bikes, but not to this like extent. And now we're just really enjoying, pushing ourselves further and further, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Yeah.
well. What a perfect segue. Speaking of crazy long bike rides, you
Oh
tell
yeah.
us about. You did one this summer that was it like 8 days and 700 and some odd kilometers.
Yeah, it was our longest so far. Eight days, 762 kilometers across a large section of Ontario. It was quite a ride. It was yeah, it's kind of one of those things where like even now it's been months, like we did that mid-June, and months later every once in a while you're like, wow, we actually did that.
Well, that's yeah. Just
Yeah.
rough. Not even working the math. That's almost 100 kilometers a day.
Yeah.
That's nuts. This old guy
Yeah,
couldn't do it. That's for sure.
it like we've been building up. Like last year our longest ride was 5 days, but I think that one was under 400 kilometers, and that's kind of how this trip came about. We had rode the Ottawa Valley Recreational Trail, and after doing that we kind of heard about some other trails, and then this past spring, we got thinking, could we go do that trail again? And then at the end of it, pick up on other roads and trails and continue on a longer route. And so at the end of the planning process, it ended up, 762 kilometers. And it took us But I guess the easiest way to explain it is just kind of jump through some of the towns we went through. So if you open up your Google Maps and follow along right now, that would be a good thing to do. We started in Petawawa, which is a little over an hour drive from where we live in Mattawa, but we would have liked to started from home, but it's on, like, you'd have to do the Trans-Canada Highway for the first section. And some people do that on a bike. We kind of don't really feel comfortable doing that, at least right now. So we got driven to Petawawa, over in eastern end of Ontario. And then we rode down to Renfrew on the trail the first day. Second day took us down to Smith Falls. And then we jumped down on the third day over to Brockville and then down to Gananoque, I believe it's pronounced, along the
Yep.
St.
Yep.
Lawrence River. Fourth day, we went from there across to Kingston and then up to Napanee. What are we on now? Fifth day? Fifth day, we went up across through the countryside to Campbellford. Sixth day, we went across through Peterborough to Lindsay. Seventh day, we couldn't go through Lake Simcoe. It was kind of in the road, so we had to go up and to Aurelia, down to Barrie. And then on the last day, we went from Barrie across through Collingwood area, and we ended in Meaford, Ontario. And we specifically ended in Meaford, Ontario, because that's where my family was originally from. I was born in Meaford, so we have some relatives there still, and we had always kind of wanted to bike there, so we thought, well, this is as close as we'll get from biking, to there, not exactly from home, but yeah, so that that was the route. So if you look that up on Google Maps, it's quite a chunk actually.
That's cool. That's a big old loop. Wow.
Yeah, and then we got picked up at the end. We didn't ride home after that, so
Yeah, well, I would avoid as many highways as I could too. Being flattened
yeah.
is no fun. What did you do? Like, did you guys camp along the way? How did that work out? Accommodations.
So, well, we do enjoy the camping. We actually got out for a bike camping trip in August. But for this particular trip, we decided to just do like hotels and bed and breakfasts. There's a bunch of different reasons, but one of the main ones is you don't have to bring as much stuff. You don't have to bring camping gear, all that. Another is time. You have to consider how long it takes when you get to your campsite, how long it takes to set up all that stuff at the end of the day. You might have to do shorter days, and then pack it all up in the morning. And then there was other things like safety issues. It's nice to go to a nice secure hotel and ride your bike right into it and lock the door, especially because I did the trip with my mom. So it's two women riding
Yep.
alone. You still have to
Yep.
worry about things like that. Yeah, and then too, it was nice. A lot of the places we stayed at, they were like Comfort Inns and Best Westerns. That those typical hotels, and a lot of them had breakfast included. So that was another thing, not that we didn't have to worry about. And then, you grab your extra muffins and your apples or your oranges and take them for snacks for the day. So it worked out quite nice, though, with the hotels because we had somewhere, safe and comfortable at the end of the night. The only downside is the price. It's a little bit more money, than a campsite. But, and then, too, with campgrounds, down in some of those areas, there's not as many campgrounds. So we might have had to really change our route or gone off the route to find one.
Right.
So yeah, for this particular trip, it worked out best, I think, for us. Yeah.
Cool. What kind of, like, time wise? What's an average day? How does a normal day play out? You get up, go grab all your muffins and apples and whatnot, shovel a bunch of stuff in your face. You jump on the bikes, water bottles, and away you go. Like, how many hours do you kind of put in? Obviously different terrain is going to change things, but
Yeah.
what's a normal day sort of play out on a trip like that?
So for this particular trip, we usually like there's always something that happens during the day that's going to slow you down. That's what happened in this trip. And then too, also if you stop, to look at tourist attractions and whatnot. But we usually started. not super early. I'm thinking around 8 or 9, something like that. It all depended how quick you get going in the morning. And then um, I think our earliest, well, the first day was a very short day, so we were at the bed and breakfast by like 6, I think. But most days ended up being like between 9 and like 10:30. We had some very long days where we kind of rolled into the place like almost at 11 o'clock because of some issues we ran into. But I mean, like, that's the whole day of riding, stopping to eat, stopping at little attractions, things you want to look at, and then also dealing with any problems that came up through the day. And when we don't ride super fast either, we kind of go, at a fast pace that we're comfortable with, but also, we like to look around and kind of enjoy it. Like, we don't go, like super fast like some people do and just fly through. Like, it's really nice to be able to slow down, be able to look around, hear all the sounds like the birds and stuff. So, yeah, usually we were out, I want to say, as early as like 8 in the morning, and then the latest day, I think it was almost 11 o'clock when we got to the hotel.
That's
But
a long day.
yeah. But we had a bit of a thing happen, which is kind of connected to the long days. When we planned this trip, I thought of all the different possibilities, and this was mid-June that we were doing this. And so you kind of, at that time, you're thinking it could be cold. In Ontario, it's still cold in June sometimes. And, there was all these things we were thinking about, storms, rain. But one of the things we never thought about that ended up happening was a heat wave. So I don't know if you guys remember that big heat wave in June that hit Ontario. That happened
Yep.
right, it was like 4 or 5 days long, happened right in the middle of our bike trip. And we had to ride through, it was like most days were like 35 degrees, felt like 40 something, and no rain, just sun all day. And yeah, that happened. I think the heat wave started our third or fourth day and went till probably the second last day. And so we kind of, yeah. And we didn't change anything. We had actually went ahead on this trip, which I don't know if it was a good idea or not. But we went ahead and booked everything ahead of time because we thought we'd feel a lot better for this length of trip to have all the hotels booked. And then you don't roll into a town at like 10 at night, like, oh no, where do we stay?
Yep.
So we didn't want to cancel anything. We wanted to keep up with our schedule, so we just kept pushing through each day. Like some people might have in those temperatures said, "Hey, let's do a shorter day or something." We're like, "No, we'll keep going." But we kind of adjusted things a bit where we would stop a little bit more often. We'd make sure we stopped in shadier spots, out of the sun, drink lots. And if anyone started to feel like a bit hot, we'd stop for a bit. So that ended up, that was one of the things that did slow, like make our days a bit longer. Just trying, like we never had any issues. I think there was only one real time where the heat kind of hit me, and we had just went up one of the biggest hills of the trip, I think. And there's no wind on a bike up a hill. So I'm like, okay, no, I have to stop on this one. I gotta cool down. But yeah, so we kind of adjusted things to deal with that heat. So yeah, it was kind of funny that happened because that was like the last thing we even thought about, like a heat wave. But
Yeah, in June.
we
Yeah.
actually brought warm clothes and never even touched them. So, but no, we pushed through it, and it worked out in the end.
I'd be all sweaty and chafing.
Oh
Do
yeah.
you take a do you take a bike trailer for your clothes, or what? How do you transport things you're bringing with you?
So we both have like a back rack over the back tire of our bikes, and we have like the panniers. They're like the large bags that hang off of the racks. And then I also had a trunk bag, which is on top of the rack. And then I had like water bottles I had on different cages on the frame. And then on the front of my bike, I had a handlebar bag with a couple little feed bags, they're called. And so kind of just fit everything in all those and try and balance out the weight. But because we weren't camping though, we didn't have as much stuff. But I still brought lots because, 8 days you want to be prepared for everything. So I definitely had like different options of clothing, and then of course like I had my GoPro and phone charger and power banks and all that kind of thing. So, and we always did we ate out, like we never cooked anything. We didn't bring a stove, but we always did have some sort of food on us because you never know where you're going to end up if you'll be able to find something. So we always had like some snacks and whatnot. So,
And did you run into rain at all?
oh yeah, actually, that was probably the scariest part of the trip for me. On day, I think that was day 7. We were riding from Lindsay, Ontario, and we were gonna go through Kirkfield, and then over to Aurelia, and everything was fine, beautiful day. And then all of a sudden, we kind of look off to I think it was to the west, and there's these huge dark clouds. And it's the kind of dark clouds that oh no, that's, it's not just going to be a spit of rain. It's like that's a storm. That's a good one. And so I started freaking out because, anything like that, like if I know lightning's coming, I'm done. I'm done. Um, and so at that point, we were trying to make it to Kirkfield to stop at the lift lock along the Trent Severn waterway. That
Yep.
was our plan for lunch. And we thought, okay, if we make it there, we'll definitely be able to take shelter, like in the bathroom or something. But as we got closer, we knew we probably weren't going to quite make it. So we had come up from Lindsay and we had turned to head west, and we're just going straight towards these big clouds, like just black clouds. And I'm like, I don't care. Okay, I was getting to the point. I'm like, no, 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 I don't care if I see some lightning and some serious stuff. I'm just gonna ride into someone's yard and go on their front porch and be like, I'm just gonna borrow your porch here until this is over. Yeah, so we kept going, and then I seen lightning. I'm like, okay, no, 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 no. And I seen a bit more, and we were trying to get to Kirkfield at the point, the town. We thought maybe we can find a store to go into, but it was still a few kilometers away. And so we're riding along, starting to rain now at this point, and then I seen a garage, like a garage that fixes cars or whatever, and it was on somebody's property, and the door was open. I'm like, hey, maybe we can ride in there and ask them if they would mind if we just pushed our bikes into the garage while the storm passes. So my mom's like, okay, go ask them then. She would have kept going through the storm probably. Um, but so we went in there and asked them, and the guy's like, yeah, sure. And so we just rolled the bikes in, and guy's fixing the car, and we're just chatting with him and his son and their dog. And it's just pouring out and thunder and lightning like crazy outside. We must have been there like an hour though. Like it was a good long storm. But luckily, like really nice people. It was really nice of them to allow us to hang out there for a bit. And then after that, we carried on, and that was our only like big rain and storm of the trip. Besides the last day, there was a little bit of rain for maybe half an hour. But yeah, so I didn't like that one though. Not when you get into the lightning and stuff. That's not on a bike.
Yeah, you're riding a metal object in lightning.
But other than that,
Zap.
the weather was pretty good. It was just heat basically.
Hot. Yeah.
But the weather, yeah, it was really nice. So just that one crazy storm there.
Cool. Well, not cool. I mean, cool that you
No.
fortuitously
I
found
actually
a
got
place
it
to.
on my GoPro too. I actually got the footage of that storm
Oh
coming at
yeah.
us on the GoPro. Yeah, so the plan is to make some YouTube videos of this trip, so that's definitely going to be in there. But I'm going to cut the sound out of that part because you just hear me freaking out. So
Put some nice calming background music in.
yeah.
On the trip, so you said that you did sort of the touristy thing and check things out, and that's part of why you weren't as speedy as you might have been. What kind of cool things did you see along the way?
Oh gosh, like We went to places that we had never even been to before in a vehicle, or places, we had kind of just driven through quickly before. So we were seeing like a whole bunch of new stuff. Um, I think probably the top of the list for me was in Brockville. We went to the Brockville Railway Tunnel. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of that.
No.
It's
Nope.
a 500-meter long train tunnel. Actually, it was the oldest train tunnel in Canada. And they have lights in it now and music, and so we were able to push our bikes right through this tunnel, and they had like different colored lights flashing to the music, and there's the water dripping on you because you're down underneath the. It goes right through the middle of town, but like underneath, and it comes out right underneath like the town hall, right, and then it takes you right out to the waterfront at the St. Lawrence. So that was probably my favorite, and I'd highly recommend anyone check that out. Like and it's free too. Um, Very cool place. It was neat to see the St. Lawrence River actually in Lake Ontario because like I said, we don't normally go down that far in Ontario, so that was nice to see that. And what else did we see? We actually rode our bikes through Ferris Provincial Park, so we got to hit a provincial park on the route, which I was thrilled about that. And Ferris has the huge suspension bridge. So if you
Oh
look
yeah.
that up,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. We saw lots of locks along the way because we multiple times through the trip we crossed over either the Rideau Canal or the Trent Severn. So there was lots of little locks, lots of train history along this route that we did because probably almost half of the route we actually were on old rail trails. So we were kind of half road, half rail trail. So, there's all sorts of old train stuff, stations and like whole engines sitting places. Um, and what else did we see? A lot of cool train bridges that are now part of the rail trails. Particularly there's one near Peterborough. I forget what it's called, but it's a huge, huge old train bridge, and it's like so high up, and then you can just see miles all around. We went to the lift lock in Peterborough, so we had to check that out. It was after they had already closed for the day, but so we rode our bikes right up underneath it. That thing is huge. I think didn't you guys go there this summer?
Yeah, Thomas and I did the lock and paddle, I think it's
Yeah,
called,
yeah,
and went up in the canoe. That was
yeah.
slightly mind blowing, but
I bet I'd like to try it in a canoe. Like it's crazy just walking up to that thing. Like I took pictures at our tiny little bikes like down at the bottom of it. Like so yeah, that was cool. We didn't go to the canoe museum, but we biked by behind it. I think that was only a couple weeks after they had opened, like the new museum. Um, in Barrie, actually, we got to Barrie. It had already been dark for like over an hour or something by the time we arrived there. But I had wanted to see. There's a statue down near the waterfront called the Spirit Catcher, and I think a lot of people, if you look up Barrie, the statue will probably uh, pop up. And it's one of those things where I remember seeing years ago when we lived in southern Ontario. If you watched the news, they always showed the statue at the beginning of the news, segment. So I was afraid when we got there that it was going to be dark, we wouldn't be able to see it. But they actually light it up at night. So we came along the waterfront. And we were like, oh, cool! Look, there's the statue, and it's this huge, like it's, yeah. Anyway, look it up, Spirit Catcher Barry, and I got some really cool pictures standing underneath it. Um, yeah, just lots of different little things to see, lots of history, and then too, it's always neat just riding through different towns and cities and just seeing, what everything looks like and what people do there. Kingston actually, they had little trolley things right, like driving around the streets, like the little red kind of trolleys. Oh, and then there's an old ship in Kingston that we stopped at called the Kuwaitan. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of that one. It was an
nope.
old steamship. It's actually older than the Titanic.
Oh my.
And it's that kind of like it looks like the Titanic, but it's green, it's not black. And so that's sitting down at the waterfront in Kingston, and we got to ride right up to the front of it and take pictures. So, yeah, all sorts of things. Like, and then because we had the lack of time, like you don't get to spend a huge amount of time at each place, but you get to see lots of different little things for a short period of time anyway. So yeah, it was pretty neat.
Awesome.
That would be a pretty cool explore. Yeah, because I mean, when we're doing it, we're on the highway, so we're generally far away from all the cool things, and we're
Hmm.
doing Mach 7. So it's like even if you do see it, it's like, okay, that was that.
Yeah, and that's the thing too that we always find is when you do a bike trip, like you're kind of going in the some of the same spots as you would with a car, but you see things so much better and you're going at a slower speed, and it's also easier to stop. Like if you're driving somewhere in a car, you can't exactly just stop anywhere sometimes, but a bike you can just stop, take a look, keep going. But you really get more into the environment or into the city or the town you're traveling through, and like similar to if you walked through, but you know a bit of a quicker pace, of course. But yeah, it's a neat way to travel. Like you feel like more into it than in a vehicle. So and more people talk to you too. We find as well.
It's hard to talk when you're doing 120 kilometers an hour. Oh!
Yeah, yeah. Or if you're just
Well,
stopping somewhere quick in the car and leaving. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. It's hey, how are you? Okay, bye.
yeah,
You mentioned that you were using old railway
yeah.
lines or paths as part of your traveling network. How do you what do you just Google Maps to find that sort of stuff, or do you have a different resource, or I don't know. How do
How
you
did you
find
map
that?
out the route?
Yeah.
So I map out pretty much most of it just using Google Maps, but I'll do a lot of research as well. Like if some like I did look up different areas, what rail trails are available. Like basically they're old train tracks that have been changed into multi-use trails. Some of them are multi-use for non-motorized only. Some allow motorized as well. So yeah, sometimes I'll just look along Google Maps and I'll see kind of the area we want to go, and I'll see which roads are better because obviously on a bike you want to avoid the busier roads if possible. You want to look for roads that are, you know, as direct as you can so you're not going way out of the way. And then if you come across trails, sometimes names will pop up of trails, and I'll click on those and I'll go to websites. Originally the route was going to have a lot more rail trail, but as I did research, I found out that some of the ones I originally thought we might do were a little more rougher. Like they haven't been some of these rail trails in different areas, they're slowly working on them. You know, a lot of it's fundraising or funds they can get grants from the government. So they're not all of them aren't complete yet. And so some of the trails I found they looked a little bit rougher than what we wanted to do. They were maybe more suitable to mountain bike or ATV. So in those areas, you know, we picked more of a road route where it'd be easier to ride. But yeah, that's kind of what I do. Like some of it, I've heard of these places before, so I'll look it up and I'll see if it's possible. And then yeah, it took quite a while. Basically, it was just me on Google Maps, just saying, okay, we're gonna go to here and here, and then actually just dropping the little Google Maps guy down on the road, the street view, and seeing, okay, what does this road look like? Um, and yeah, just a ton of research, and it worked out pretty well. We didn't change the route too much. There was a few things that we ended up changing when we got to certain places, but we did stick pretty closely to the route. But and then too, just going online and just googling different places like bike routes or multi-use trails. You know, things are gonna pop up. So that's pretty much what I did. I basically planned the whole route on my own, and then like I talked to my mom a bit and I'm like, well, where do you want to go over after this? And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go down on Google Maps and I'm gonna check out every little road that goes up, and then, you know, just seeing what's best. So yeah, it was quite a bit of work, but it's also fun. I really enjoy going on maps and checking out everything. So it was fun for me though. So
And what kind of bike do you ride? Is it a mountain bike or a road bike or a hybrid bike?
so I have a gravel bike, and it's kind of It's kind of the best option for me because I ride, particularly where we live, we ride all sorts of things. We're on, pavement, we're on trails, we're on rough gravel roads. So the gravel bikes are kind of designed to handle a little bit of everything. If you had a road bike, you might not be able to handle some of the rougher stuff, or you might not even be able to handle some of the rail trails. And then, of course, the mountain bike, they can be a bit slow on pavement and stuff, and it's a lot more effort. Because that's actually what I had before I bought the gravel bike. It was a mountain bike, but we started to go further distances, and I was just dragging myself along with it. So I find with the gravel bike, it's good for everything. And then my mom, it's kind of an older model, but it's similar to like a touring gravel bike as well. And yeah, we had no issues anywhere we rode during the trip, whether it was, the really rough stuff or right in the middle of cities. So I think the gravel or touring type bikes are a good choice if you're gonna do a trip and you could hit a variety of terrain, or if you want to jump off roads and go on to trails or something. So yeah, it's a good option. And then they're also a lot of the gravel bikes are designed with lots of options to attach racks and bags and things like that. So, if you want to load up your bike with a bunch of stuff, there'll be all the little holes and attachment things all set up already. So
Yeah, cool. Because I want to load up a bunch of stuff so that I can make my bike twice as heavy and lug that around
yeah.
as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
That's it for us for today. Thank you so much for tuning in to Adventures with Josie. So if you check her out, her trip that she's described is going to show up on her YouTube channel. So Adventures with Josie. And Josie Dinsmore Photography, you can check her out. And her Instagram is really amazing as far as beautiful
Go
photos.
check out some of those Aurora pictures.
Yeah.
They're just wicked.
Aurora pictures, Tomogamy pictures, Restool, Samuel D. Champlain,
Yep.
the fall colors, Algonquin pictures. It's all gorgeous. And
Thank
we'll talk to you again soon. I'm Pamela.
I'm still Tim.
And we are still from supergoodcamping.com. You can reach out to us on all of the social media as well. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and we have our YouTube channel. And we would love it if you subscribe to us there. If you want to email us, our email address is hi@supergoodcamping.com. That's hi@supergoodcamping.com. And we'll talk to you again soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.